What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Radio, Episode 3, Season 7. I'm your host, Jim Michkov, joined as always by the one and only Jack Smith. We'll be joined by special guest Jackie Spiegel of the Philadelphia Inquirer in just a little bit. If you're catching us live on YouTube, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the alert so you never miss a show. And for all you podcast listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you're first in line when the newest episodes drop. Jack, kick us off with the Phans of Philly, John. That slaps hella.
That slaps hella.
I told you I was going to get it in.
I thought you wanted me to get it in.
I don't know how many times we said I got to do it in the chat, but I'm going to get it in tonight.
Fair. Oh, geez. Okay. Flyers fans, we've got something special for you today. Looking to take your game day experience to the next level? Then look no further than Phans of Philly. With over 14 years experience, they're the go-to team for putting together unforgettable travel packages for diehard Philly sports fans.
Why Phans of Philly, you ask? Let me break it down. These guys have spent years building the best relationships with bars, hotels, teams, transportation, you name it. Every trip they plan gets better. And trust me, they'll make sure your experience is top notch.
That's right, Jim. Whether it's scouting out the perfect hotel, finding the hottest nightlife, or securing the best seats in the arena, Phans of Philly have it all figured out. They know how to make your trip hella absolute blast. So head on over to fansofphilly.com. That's fansofphilly.com and book your next Flyers road trip today.
There you go. And maybe people made the trip to go see the Montreal game up in Montreal. Montreal fans had a good time at that one anyways. They got the Olay Olays going, Jack.
Yeah, that's something else.
I want to ask your opinion on that right off the bat. The Olay Olay chant, that's fine for the regular season. It's a fun thing Montreal fans do. What are your thoughts on it in the preseason?
It's Bush League. It's silly. It's really preseason. I've been to a couple of preseason games. I've seen some goals. I don't think I ever jumped out of my chair or anything like that. It's preseason. You're going up against these guys that you're just trying to figure out the makings of your team. You're trying out some stuff. You're giving guys opportunity who probably shouldn't be out there. Things happen, and you're to each their own. Ultimately, at the end of the day, but for me, yeah, it's definitely stupid silly.
Doesn't really slap hella for you.
Definitely not. Couldn't be as far south of slapping hella as you can get.
What are we at? 4?
I don't know.
All right, we need a counter in the chat, guys. We're going to see how many times we can say slaps hella before the episode's over. So if somebody can keep track of that, that'd be cool. I mentioned that we have a special guest for the episode, and it's camp season, right? Flyer season's around the corner. We're 2 preseason games in. And who better to bring on than Miss Jackie Spiegel of the Philadelphia Inquirer, who's watching these guys every single day. Jackie.
Hi, sorry. Just give me 1 second.
No, we know you're busy. Take your time. But
there's reports out there that they have signed Eetu. I might not pronounce his last name correctly. Eetu Mäkiniemi. Just trying to get some confirmation. So excuse me for 1 second. Let me just hit send on this.
Sure. Breaking news.
I'm not the one who broke it. Anthony DeMarco, I believe, is the first out there, and I'll definitely give him credit always when the case.
Time, Jack.
He looked good. I thought he looked good last night. I wasn't in Montreal. That's only that game, and next week in Boston, where one of my colleagues will be in Boston, are the only games I'm missing as of now for the entire year. But I did watch the stream, the very interesting stream, and did see. I thought he looked good actually. The finished goal. I thought he looked very cool, very calm. He reminds me a lot of that. Sam Urson kind of relax in net, and the ability to kind of settle things down. Just when things aren't maybe going super great. Which obviously they weren't there yet when he was in net because he only gave up 1 goal. But I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he certainly looked capable, right? Which I guess at this point in time, considering, the whole Kolosov fiasco, is all they could have, hopefully have gotten in this guy on a PTO, drafted 2017, 4th round pick of the Hurricanes. I think he's 24, 25 years old, right? So Yeah, pretty good showing. I thought he, like you said, he looked cool, calm, collected, in the right positions. I don't really know what I'm watching with goalies, but they're due for some luck here with that position. Maybe they lucked out with this guy.
Yeah, I think, the thing with the Kolosov thing is that regardless of whoever is in Lehigh Valley, they're going to get a chance in the NHL at some point. Like, let's be realistic. In today's day and age, goalies someone gets hurt, right? We saw it last year. Injuries happen. It comes about, or someone's not playing well, and they want to spark the team up and get bring someone else up. It wouldn't have surprised me if Alexei Kolosov was brought up this year for a good stint. And, now that's probably going to be Eetu, because I like Cal Peterson, but he does struggle. Look, I saw him play in Lehigh Valley last year in the playoffs. He played in the game I was at was the game he actually shut out Hershey. And I believe it was I think it was technically round 2, but it might have been officially called the first round. I can't remember what the Calder Cup playoff strat thing is, but he actually looks really good in the AHL. Not, maybe not everyone's destined for NHL, but he's destined for a good pro career. I think that's for sure for Cal Peterson. I think whoever's with him in Lehigh Valley definitely gets a shot at some point.
That's a pretty good little segue here, because you mentioned, not everybody's built for the NHL. Some guys are built to play in the AHL. And, speaking of that, Ronnie Attard didn't have the best showing last night. And I hate to, it's not even us being negative, but I hate to talk about negative points, especially on guys who are, trying their hardest to, make an NHL career out of things. But he just did not have the best overall game last night. I'm wondering, what's his future potentially look like? And what are you seeing from him in camp? Maybe it was just a one-off type of game, or is this a consistent theme throughout camp with Attard?
I don't know if it's a consistent theme, but he definitely struggled last night. And he is 25, and he's kind of getting passed by other guys, right? Like, let's be realistic here. Hunter McDonald is definitely passing him they don't necessarily play the same game, obviously, because Ronnie's a little bit more of has a little bit more of an offensive edge to him. But the Flyers absolutely love Hunter McDonald, and how could you not? I mean, look, he throws the body around. He plays a heavy game. That's always important in today's NHL. Obviously, like Emil Andre's obviously passed him. You have other guys that Helge Grans potentially could pass him. You have guys who are making those right strides, and I'm not really sure what happened last night, because I feel like it just didn't seem like his normal game. And I wouldn't be surprised if, we don't know the roster cuts yet. But he's definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but I'm pretty sure he's not one of those guys that's going to get automatically sent to Lehigh Valley's camp. So the question is, what does he do this year? Right. It's a long season and a lot can happen. Hopefully he kind of turns things around after last night. I don't think that's Ronnie Attard officially, right? If that makes sense. I think that's
fair.
Yeah. We've seen
better. Everybody has an off game, right? But I don't know.
It just seems to happen then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like, these are the times where maybe you can't really have those kind of games. And I have the clip of the turnover last night, and I almost feel bad, because I could have clipped a couple seconds before and shown how he was put in that situation with the puck, right? Not the best. Hang on, this will reset here. But so he's kind of left hanging out to dry, with the puck. There's two guys on him, and boom.
Yeah. Can you play one more time, actually, James?
What's that?
Can you play it one more time?
One more time? Sure.
Because I don't think he protected the puck well. That's part of it.
No. And I know everything's bang, bang, where, he's got at least a second to make a decision, and he chooses I don't know what he did. He kind of just skated into
literally everything, anything else.
He needed to pull it a little bit in more and go more, protect it more around the guy. Instead, he cut it too close. And if you watch, like, he doesn't carry it deep enough away, and he almost skates into him, and that's part of it right there. You see. And I don't remember. I think that's Jeremy Davidson. I think it was that one. Like, that's just a good play. And Montreal's a young team. you definitely have guys that are fighting for spots up there. A number of guys that are fighting for spots. You know, they definitely are in a team like the Flyers, who is kind of a lot of the rosters already set in stone a little bit. I don't think Montreal's like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But you're going to face a team that's playing hard right now. You know, you're not playing like Washington had a lot of kids, and those kids that probably aren't making the NHL regardless, outside of like Miroshnichenko. I think I said it right.
Yeah, well done.
You know, they have one or two other guys that are obviously NHLers already on that roster, but you didn't see Ovechkin, and you know, like you didn't see John Carlson in that lineup. So a little different. And the Flyers also suited up a pretty young roster on what day was that? Sunday? I've lost track of
It was yesterday, which would have been Monday, I think.
Yeah. No, they played the Capitals on
the
Sunday.
Capitals. Yeah.
Yeah. So like last night was a little bit more of a veteran roster. Like you had your Tyson Forsters and your Sean Couturiers, and you know Ronnie Attard does have NHL experience, and Louis Belpedio does have NHL experience, and obviously Zamula, and so it was more of a veteran roster. So it was a little surprising with the 5-0 loss. But you know what, Ronnie Attard wasn't the only one, obviously, who had a bad game last night. So you know, hopefully everyone just kind of moves past it, and it's preseason. Time to shake off the rust. And I think there was a bunch of guys that were doing that anyway. So you move on.
For sure. Great way to look at it. So, you know, one of the main reasons we had you on tonight is because you see these guys every day. You're at camp, you know, watching these guys. Is there anyone kind of standing out that's maybe like a dark horse, you know, having a great start to camp and, you know, has caught your eye right out of the gate and it's like, this guy, you know, might surprise some people?
Well, I think everyone's surprised by Jet Lachenko. You know, there were question marks when the Flyers did draft him just because of who was left on the board. But he's definitely proving everyone wrong with his game. I thought he looked better in the rookie series' first game, not the second game. But when you see him being able to play up to his potential, it's actually really good. And he actually looked pretty good. I think he was playing between like Noah Cates and Joel Farabee. Obviously, two veterans also probably helped. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've been impressed with Jet Lachenko a lot. I'm just going to glance real quick at the roster. Obviously, Oliver Bonk's always, you know, is someone to keep an eye on. He'll probably he played last night, but he'll get more opportunities for sure. It's Emil Lachenko. And to be honest with Lachenko, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the, 8 or 9 game audition in the NHL and then goes back to Guelph. Or maybe he sticks and he surprises everyone. But what I'm seeing, and John Tortorella said yesterday, he spoke to us before leaving for Montreal that, it's a conversation that he has with Danny and Keith, Danny Briere and Keith Jones, and he's not afraid to express his opinion, which I think we already knew about John Tortorella, but he's been impressed by Lachenko also. So I think that's someone to keep an eye on. And Jamie Drysdale he's not someone who should surprise anybody. And Jamie Drysdale is someone I watched more, you know, when he played for Canada at World Juniors back before all the injuries kind of really set in for him. And this is that Jamie Drysdale, confident with the puck, skating ability. You see him move, you know, John Tortorella used the term free. You see that now with him. And I think once your body feels right, everything else kind of falls into place a little bit. And I think that's where Jamie Drysdale is. I'm trying to think who else. There's obviously the usuals outside of Jamie Drysdale. Hunter McDonald, obviously. Everyone likes Hunter McDonald.
Can I ask you about him real quick? Because we hear about him a lot and we hear kind of the same things, you know, big physical defenseman. We got a little glimpse of that last night against Montreal, I thought. Can you talk about like his hockey sense a little bit? I didn't really focus in on him too much during the rookie game. So, you know, I didn't notice much of that from him, but can you talk about his hockey sense and, you know, what else can he do besides the physical stuff? And I'm not saying that, you know, like maliciously or anything, but I'm genuinely asking, like, you know, what else is this guy good at?
Well, I think that's his bread and butter, right? Yeah. Is being physical. And he's more of a defensive defenseman, but I think we even saw it. He played Monday, I believe. You saw the big shot that he has from the point too. I mean, look, he's 6'4", definitely over 200 pounds. Like he's just a big body. There's got to be a lot of power behind that shot regardless. Is he going to be like Emil Andre and skate like through everybody out there. No, that's not his game. And what I think is great about a Hunter McDonald is that even though he's not, he's not a young kid because he played a little college hockey, obviously, but he knows who he is out there, and he's not trying to reinvent the wheel with his game. He knows what got him to this point. I think he was like, a 7th round pick. Like he wasn't expected to be anything. And look, there's obviously plenty of NHL superstars that were 7th round picks. I believe Henrik Lundqvist was a 7th round pick, and he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But he wasn't expected to be this eye-opening, I think, to the Flyers. And he's still young, and defensemen take a lot of time to grow and develop. And he knows who he is, and that's, I think, important more than anything.
Is there a real shot that he can make this team out of camp? Because there was a conspiracy going around. I don't know if you saw, the Flyers put out the yearbook photos with, how they were, Jack, what I'm talking about, right? And it had guys from last year in there, and then there was Hunter McDonald snuck his way in there somehow, and it was like, oh, is he making the team already? Is that what we're, supposed to be seeing here? Or?
I don't think anyone is, to be honest with you, let's be realistic with John Tortorella. I don't think anyone is slated into this roster. Yeah. I think, yeah, there's definitely, guys who like, Tyson Forster and obviously MattvMichkov and, guys that have NHL contracts and are getting paid a lot, but we've seen like, look, he sat Cam Atkinson last year and he was making a good chunk of change. He's not, he did sit Ristolainen at 1 or 2 times. Mark Stahl sat a lot, obviously, but that was for a little bit of a different reason. But I don't think anyone's roster spot is 100% guaranteed when it comes to John Tortorella. Obviously, like he mentions, money comes, cap space and everything does get impacted, I think, by decisions that the team has to make regardless of anything. But is Hunter McDonald making this team? I would say no, but that doesn't mean he's not close to making this team. I think he does still have a little growth to do. I mean, he's only played how many NHL games did he play last year? Like 13, not even.
Yeah,
in playoffs.
Didn't seem like that much. Yeah,
I was gonna say it seems like more than I thought.
Yeah, so like I think he needs a little bit more seasoning in the AHL, and he'll get that with Ian LaPerriere and his crew. And I'm sure he'll talk to Brad Straub, a little bit there too, because he's the defensive guru on the Flyers. But could they carry 8 defensemen at the start of the year? Yes. Will Hunter McDonald be the 8th? I'm leaning Emil Andre personally.
I like to hear that. And can you talk about why? Because he's my guy.
Oh, I think he's just exciting to watch. I think, yes, he plays a little bit similar style to a Jamie Drysdale. So maybe that kind of creates a bit of a count, like they kind of cross each other off a little bit. But Hunter McDonald plays a little bit like a Ristolainen, although obviously Ristolainen is a much more grizzled and refined game at this point. He's how many years has he been in the league, Yeah. I think Emil Andre's ready. He had that 4-game stint last year, and I did a lot of talking with him in May in Lehigh Valley, and he is hyper-focused on making more of an impact this year and not just getting a 4-game stint. And I think we've seen that. He's noticeable. He's, is he going to like lay the massive hit on someone? Probably not. I think he tries. I think he does. If I remember correctly, Ian LaPerriere told me that he's the guy who kind of like does like to throw the body around, but obviously, look, the guy's 5.
He's a little,
if that much, right? So, but he plays he's hyper competitive. He, he just has this drive and this like fire in him, and I would be interested to see it more at the NHL level.
I love watching him play. I think I've said it I don't know if it was here or I do a show at Dobber Prospects as well, but he sometimes reminds me of like a Chemo Timonen in light. Like it's hard to be a Chemo Timonen because he was kind of really good at everything. But sometimes Emil Andre has that like that poise. Like you mentioned, he has that like that little fire in him, but it's almost like he keeps it under control kind of thing, and it comes out in other ways. I don't know. I love watching him play though, and so I guess I'm wondering, like, is he because obviously the Flyers decor is pretty much set in stone, I would say,
Yeah.
right? I guess he's playing to be one of those guys that's called up in case of an injury, right? Like that's really what he's playing. That's really what he's, playing for in camp, I guess, this year, right?
Maybe. I mean, yes, I would say obviously Cam York and Travis Sanheim are locks. Obviously Jamie Drysdale and Nick Seeler are locks. Ristolainen, but he was on the trade. There was a lot of talk about getting traded at one point last year before all the injuries set in. So could that be a possibility this year too? Maybe. Zamula, I wouldn't say is 100% a lock, but he's probably a lock. So yeah, it is a little. I used the term stacked, and of course, it came across a little wrong in the story. But I meant more because it's like you said. I should have used that set in stone probably a little bit more.
I mean,
they're not stacked, but they are set in stone.
It is.
The roster set in stone. Like, let's be realistic. Like,
right.
There's only maybe one or two spots on forwards, if that at all, to be honest with you. Because I think Bobby Brink's just showing that he deserves that right wing spot. Although Ulo Excel's I think has looked really good too. But yeah, I mean, I think Emil Andre is also a little bit of insurance just in case something happens with Jamie Drysdale. He does look good, Jamie Drysdale. He looks healthy. He looks strong. He put on a lot of weight. He looks, like I said, he looks like the Jamie Drysdale I remember watching playing for Hockey Canada at the World Championships, or the World Junior Championship, sorry. But his past is his past, and you have to maybe be prepared for that.
It's a great point. And this is a topic maybe for another episode, but Flyers have 3 guys all similar build with all similar skill sets in Andre, Drysdale, and York now. And not many teams have, 3 guys like that in their decor. I don't think so.
I wouldn't put Cam York in the same boat necessarily.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Tortorella said to me last year that, like Cam York is he considered him, it was around, I'm sure you remember the other quotes from that day, but it was right after the trade or right after the All-Star break in Florida when I was asking about Jamie Drysdale and Cam York. But he said that Cam York is the best defender on the team. He didn't say best defenseman. He said best defender, or maybe if I remember correct, something about being one of the better defenders. Let's say I don't want to put best defender out there if I can't remember correctly. I believe it was best defender, but
I think you're right. Yeah.
But I've talked to Cam York a few times about it, and yeah, he does have that offensive game or that offensive side to his game. But he's really hyper focused right now on the defensive side of things. Does he want to be that offensive guy? Of course he does. Like one of the first goals when I came to the Flyers beat was that one where he skidded down the left boards and just absolutely turned. He went around like the cut across the circle and scored. It was like one of those pretty goals. Like, he has the ability to do it. I think he's just hyper focused on being the best defenseman he could be, which is his job. If you really think about it, he's a defenseman. Like the Norris Trophy drives me crazy. So when it goes to the offensive guy, sorry,
preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir here.
As someone who votes and gets the opportunity to vote, it drives me crazy when it goes to the guy with the most points.
As a defenseman, tell me about it. Jack, anything for Jackie?
No, that was all good. We touched on everything I wanted to touch on, so that was good analysis there. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Obviously, the Flyers play tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? It's Thursday. My days are all mixed up too.
The Islanders.
Yes, that'll be. Jackie, did they come out with any cuts today? I thought they were supposed to make cuts.
Still waiting. Nothing yet. Still waiting to hear. I'm checking my email. I'm checking Twitter. I'll check my email one more time while I'm on with you guys. Oh. I'm gonna say it's a little late in the day, but we know they're coming because we are expected to be back in their locker room tomorrow to talk to players. So obviously, when there's less people, it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, that's still the plan for tomorrow. So I wouldn't be. I mean, everyone else seems to be cutting guys anyway, and they did have the day off. So maybe they're just waiting to tell. Maybe it took a while to tell every single player. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how do they tell each one individually? Is it like when you get laid off and they put everyone in a room, and if you're in one room, you get laid off, and if you're in the other room, you're not? I don't know. Not that that's to me. I did have the individual meeting when I once got laid off, but hey, I'm a journalist. I work in media. It happens. But yeah, I don't know how they handle things. I do feel like I remember hearing maybe Tortorella say that he likes to talk to everybody and give them kind of like feedback, which I think is really great. But no cuts right now. And like I said, the Mäkiniemi contract is not confirmed, but it's out there as look like it's happening. So good for the goalie to get that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, it's the Jackie that Torts always refers to. Hello.
Sorry, Jim. Yeah.
Jackie, do I hear a Boston accent?
New York
accent.
Oh, how dare you, Jim? Wow.
Yes.
Sorry.
Actually, technically Brooklyn.
Did you cover Torts while he was up there?
I worked at SNY at the time, or during part of his tenure. I did not deal with. I worked in TV, so I was more like in studio, doing like associate producer or feature producing. So I saw all the raw. I saw all the audio. I was kind of the hockey person there, so I handled all the audio. Handled all the hockey primarily. So it's yeah. I didn't deal with him too much, but I definitely know all about his past there in New York and everything that he said there.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Yeah, how is it covering him for? The first two. This would be his third year. This will be your second or third year.
This will be my second entering.
Yeah, how's it covering Torts? Obviously, if you just follow the Flyers on Twitter, it's very easy to have like the outside perspective on Torts. But then you see stuff like he did yesterday with Mr. Gaudreau. And, like you're saying now, he talks to each player individually and helps them, potentially take that information into the future, wherever else they end up. What's your experience been covering John Tortorella?
Well, I don't want to jinx it, obviously, but
I'm not going wood for you.
I don't have there's one or two times where I wasn't happy with how he reacted to something, but generally speaking, he keeps me on my toes because you can't ask a bad question, right? I think the person that you saw with Johnny and Matt Gaudreau's dad, Guy Gaudreau, is really who John Tortorella is.
Yeah.
I don't want to like reveal too much, but I had a rough year on the beat with injuries personally, actually.
Okay.
And he was actually very understanding and very nice about it, to be honest. So I will say, I think that's really who John Tortorella is. I was warned when I took this job that he gets a little intense on game days, and I think that's who he is. He has a job to do. I understand a lot of kind of where he comes from. I've coached at a high level, so it's a lot of pressure. And it's a lot of, when you're the head coach, it's a lot on your shoulders, even if you delegate to your staff. You're the one in charge. You're the one who has to answer the questions, right? It's not really your assistants that have to answer the questions. So, it's a lot on his plate. He's been doing this a long time. He's won a cup. And like you'll talk to guys, right? I talked to Nick Foligno in Chicago, loves Torts. Loves John. You have other guys, he's a complicated man, but I think like I said, the guy that you saw who personally picked up the phone to bring in Guy Gaudreau is who John Tortorella is. And like I said, he gets intense, totally gets intense, but he cares. Last year around the trade deadline, he would make a point to make sure he spoke to guys if their names were coming up, right? He told us that. Like Scott Lawton said, he always knew where things stood. with where he was, right? So I think, he answers everyone's question. He will take questions from everyone. He might not necessarily answer it fully, but he definitely
Not everyone. At least last year.
yeah.
But that's like a pretty huge compliment, I think, like, because I mean, so what I've noticed with Torts was he seems like the kind of guy who's going to try to train people. You know what I mean? At least this is the perception that I got. Like, look, if I got to answer questions from you guys, these are the questions that you need to be asking me, kind of thing. And from when he first came here to now, you don't really get those responses from him anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it was kind of like, man, Torts, like it's a little cringe. Like you feel bad for the people asking the question. You don't really get that from him as much.
I think, oops, I just moved the camera. I think of the person that John Tortorella was about. When was he with the Rangers? Like,
seems forever ago now.
Like almost right out of the lockout. How long ago? 08-ish.
More than 10 years ago, right? Because
yeah,
Alain Vigneault took him to the 2015 Stanley Cup final, and that was his first year. Yeah, that was his first year there. So 13. 13. Wait, was it 13? No.
14. Let's settle on 14. There we go.
But regardless of anything, the guy who, the guy who yelled about Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, and the guy who yelled at refs, and the guy who pulled, like, what was he, sprayed a water bottle or something one year, or something with a water bottle with fans or whatever. Like, that's not who John Tortorella, I think, is today. I think he has mellowed a little bit, but I don't really want to put it out there.
I've heard that. I've seen it. Yeah. He was a firecracker with the Rangers, and he's not the same guy. It's a fact. You're
it's
absolutely
scary
right.
to look back and be like, oh my God, that's this guy.
He was a nutcase. He says it himself that he learned. I grew with the position. I learned some things too along the way. And that's the first thing I see, because he would you talk about taking player questions and being nice. Who was that guy? He was always almost ready to fight. I can't remember his name, but he in New York.
Oh, it's another reporter. Yes.
Yeah, I know if I heard his name, I would click.
Larry Brooks, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Larry Brooks, exactly.
I didn't want to be the one.
They were this close. Oh, whoops! Well, I mean, look. You go on YouTube and type it in. They are this close to fighting a couple of times. It's bad. He is nowhere.
But here's the thing, though. I think the thing with Torts is that he respects it. He respects. You can't sit there and ask like a bad question. Like, I will say, I struggle with post-game questions. I think that's something that I personally need to work on, right? Is my post-game questions. Because also a lot of time I'm the only one there.
Oh, shit.
That might be a you thing, Jack, because I don't think any of us really think that. We think you're one of the best.
I feel like you need to be a little bit better. But or maybe internally I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I think it's an internal thing, because you do pretty good to all of us. I could tell you that.
I appreciate that. But I think like it's a little nerve-wracking when you're standing like eye to eye and you have to ask questions about a game, especially after like a loss or something. So I feel like he's made me a better reporter in a lot of ways too. So I give him a lot of credit. Yeah, he's tough. Like, he doesn't want to hear bad questions. I respect that.
And I totally understand what you're saying, especially after like back-to-back losses, and you have to sit there and ask the same questions essentially that you asked the night prior. Like,
yes.
This is a perfectly reasonable question. How is he going to react? Like, that's what gets me. I'll give you all the credit in the world, because that's got to be tough.
Well, Jack, I'm sure you remember that they lost about 8 games in a row there.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And now you're the only one there, and you got to ask what happened.
Yeah, luckily, Charlie O'Connor and Kevin Kurz were there a few times, so I had them to kind of ask, and Brian Smith with the Flyers, the organization himself. So, but it's not easy, and it's hard. I mean, what are you going to say? Like, I saw so-and-so make a mistake. Like, what do you think? Like, he doesn't want that kind of question, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
He's not a guy he honestly doesn't. He's not that kind of coach that wants to publicly. There are times he has, but I think
we'll do it. We'll walk it back.
Yeah, but it's not only that he'll walk it back. It's very calculated.
True.
And every player, I mean, look, I don't know about you guys playing history in sports, whatever, but not every coach is gonna be able to be the best coach for every player.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, like, like Morgan Frost is a great example, right? Like he wanted Morgan to come into his office and have the conversation. We'll call it a conversation. It was probably a screaming match, but they had a conversation and they talked it out. And then Morgan played a lot better, right? At least after that. So I think, you know, he respects that though. He wants you to stand up for yourself. And all he wants is his players to be the best that they can be. And I find that that's a good quality in a coach. Like I would play for that. He would drive me crazy if I was a player, like not gonna lie. But I want a coach who's gonna want to put me in the best positions to be the best player. Not every coach does that, right? You have coaches who want players that fit their system, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have coaches who, okay, like Barry Trotz is a great example. Barry Trotz is a guy who goes, okay, these are the 20 guys I have. All right, this is the system we're going to play, right? He's not the guy who goes, no, I want these 20 guys that fit my system, right? He's able to adjust his system to fit those. And obviously Barry Trotz is no longer a coach, but that's the kind, you know, not every coach can do that. Not every coach is good at in-game situations or in-game adjustments, excuse me. Like Alain Vigneault, great coach, respect him immensely. He was not great at those in-game adjustments. Great after the game, into the next game, but not in-game. So, you know, I think Torch just wants the best from his guys.
Really interesting that you said. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, Jim,
Well,
I was thinking, I'm sorry.
Well, because they played the one way his first year, and the second year, the big talk, you know, in camp and before the season was the Flyers are playing a different style than they played in year one. And that was, I guess, maybe a prime example, right? They're maybe a faster team. Second year of Torts, maybe they came in knowing what to expect. They were able to play that way. And that showed. So to your credit there, to your example, it's true.
Yeah, I think, well, he said it the other day that year one was like kind of cutting guys that didn't fit the future of the team, right?
Yeah.
Or I can't remember the exact terminology he used, but
in a sense, it was addition by subtraction.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously year two is you kind of work with the guys that you have, and then year three is I think he said this year's more building for the future, if I remember correctly. But you know, like that's a good example is that. Yeah, he realized, okay, we have Owen Tippett who can really skate. We have, you know, Morgan has some jets. You know, you have guys who can, like Jamie, obviously, once you got Jamie Drysdale, you have the Jamie Drysdale we know can be that guy, right? He can be the guy that carries the puck up. And I think that shows you a coach, right? Like that shows like, that's a good coach that can make those adjustments based on who he has. And he puts guys in spots that they'll succeed in. Look at Nick Seeler. Right? Yeah. Nick Seeler was a guy who wasn't sure if he even wanted to play hockey again a couple years ago, right? During COVID. He decided to step away from the game for a year. And when he decided to come back, he joined the Flyers. And now he is this shot block machine, you know? Like
yeah, we know. We were all betting on him every game last year.
Sure thing. For easy money.
I asked him about the big shot he blocked in Washington. He just like went down, popped back up.
Like
he hit the thigh. It was fine. You know, as long as he hits
no big deal.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But no, warrior, man.
What I really liked what you said about Torts. What I took away from that was like you have your X's and O coaches, and there's definitely a need for those coaches. But Tortorella is definitely more of a motivator. Sure, he's got a system. I think he can tweak it if need be. But what comes first is motivating and getting the best out of his players. Doesn't work for every player, obviously, but I think his track record has shown it's worked for most. If you want to tell me, well, he only has one Stanley Cup, pretty much everywhere he's gone, he's been successful. And the best examples with Columbus. That team was on a downward spiral. He turned them around real quick and did some things nobody expected them to do. Where the Flyers are at right now, where we're rebuilding and have so much youth, I think a motivator is exactly what they need. And I think that's kind of what we were saying. Well, some people didn't like the hire and some people did. I think those of us who did, this is the reason why we like that. And he's not going to be here forever. Could be his last season for all we know. Either way, I think this is why he was here in the very crucial time of this rebuild, if you want to call it that. And I think you're seeing that with the players here.
He's a good builder of people. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he will tear you down and build you back up. And, Dan Girardi is a great example of a guy also. And when he played for the Rangers, that was not, he was like a later round pick, but he's a tough guy. He's like Nick Sealer, hopefully Nick doesn't fall into what happened with Dan, where every single shot he blocked was not a good spot. And his career ended pretty short, right? Like he only played, I think early 30s. But he's a guy who he found his niche with Tortorella, right? Like Ristolainen last year, one of the very first times I remember speaking with him in the locker room, because remember he was hurt I didn't start until the end of October. He was hurt before I got there, and then he didn't come back until later in the season, like late November, early December maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the first things he said was like that he wished he had John Tortorella his first year as a pro. And I think that's a good example of, what, and Ristolainen obviously went through a lot of coaches in Buffalo. So he knows what works and he knows what doesn't. So I think, that to me was incredibly telling of what John Tortorella does for his players in terms of their game. He breaks them down and builds them back up. And he helps them find their niche, which is, I think, what's like Hunter McDonald we were talking about before.
I think in only 2 years, we've seen that with several players. You talk about Risto. We got a first-round pick for Shawn Walker. I mean, think about that. Like, he definitely has a way for players that it clicks. And I think he's at a time in his career where less players are more likely to come around and say they hate the guy and he sucks. I notice it's usually with lower skilled players than it is higher skilled players coming out saying they love them. But again, it's just another example for a rebuilding team why you need to have that with your young guys.
Yeah.
Maybe get something for your vets as well. Who knows?
I think the reason it's with I'll just use the term lower skill because I think that's the term you just used, correct? So I think it's more he believes in them. He believes that they can make that step and be everyday NHLers. He talks a lot about like learning what it's like to be a pro. And those are the guys that are going to focus on every little thing, right? Like if you're a borderline NHLer, you're going to focus on every little thing to be the best that you can be. And if that's something that's that important, like being a pro and what that means and I guess it's like coming to the rink early and leaving late and, whatnot, like, he's going to show you what you need to do to succeed. Now, obviously, Garnet Hathaway came to Philadelphia, with a pretty good resume, and a resume as a checker and a hard-nosed guy. And he was playing third line last year, and he was succeeding, and he was getting under the skin of the other teams, and he was making the right plays, and he was also one of the top penalty killers on the team. Like, this is, which I think he did in the past as well, but he excelled under John Tortorella, right? I think when you say that he struggles a little bit with the higher end guys, is because he tells them he has to play defense a little bit. I think he wants to make sure that they're responsible in their own end. I mean, look, I think we all remember him yelling at Bobby Brink at Ula last year in DC when they had that shift. So I think, he's like, it's great that you can score, but get back in your own and help out your teammates, kind of. He's all about the team.
Well, for that effect, I think that TK definitely, his trajectory of his career definitely increased. Could have used him early in his career as well. More so what I meant was like when you see players come out about Tortorella after their career, like this is even before Tortorella was with the Flyers. A lot of like great players, like players we really liked would be, come out and be like, yeah, I love Tortorella. He did wonders for my career. It's always like a good player. And I hear somebody like some journeyman who just fizzled out. I hate him. Can't stand him. And that just goes to show you, like certain players, you can only coach certain players certain ways, but those who like love him are damn good players. And those who like dislike him, I haven't seen one like really good player come out and be like, I can't stand him. Like it's usually guys who fizzled out,
Yeah, I mean, like, look, like everyone reads into the situation. Like, you know, even if I remember last year, Tortorella said at one point, like, you know, I have a reputation kind of thing, and I know the reputation precedes me. And I don't remember the rest of the context of it, but he mentioned it. And like, I think a great example of that is the Patrik Laine situation in Columbus, right? Where everyone was blaming John Tortorella for the benchings. And I don't remember if he was a healthy scratch or not, but whatever it was, like they were yelling at each other. There was a benchings and whatever. And then we find out later that there was issues behind the scenes with Patrik Laine. Like that. Oh, yeah. That he earned that benching and he earned that healthy scratch. Like, it wasn't like Tortorella was just deciding to scratch him. It was what he was doing behind the scenes and what he was, you know, how he was acting. Pierre-Luc Dubois is the same guy, right? Like he has such a reputation of not being a worker, but everyone wanted to blame John Tortorella at the time.
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm talking about. And Dubois is the perfect name to bring up too. And traded again, this guy. Like, unbelievable.
That's interesting because now when a guy gets benched and we don't really hear about why, that's what I'm going to wonder. What's going on that we don't know about? Like maybe a la Sean Couturier, but we didn't have to talk about that.
Oh, geez.
But interesting though.
Sean Couturier knows why Sean Couturier got benched. I mean, he even said it in the locker room. Like he said he didn't get like an explanation, but he also said very clearly he knows he wasn't playing up to the best of his potential, especially second half of the year. So. Yeah.
You know what irked me about that situation, I will say, and we were just, you know, praising Tortorella. Oh, I feel like the whole thing could have been avoided if he just was, you said he was injured. Couturier was clearly playing injured. They made him a healthy scratch. How do you make an injured player a healthy scratch? You can avoid the whole situation. And to me, that's like of any criticisms. I know other people have a lot more. I'm not one of those people of Tortorella. That was a head scratcher for me. When it was all said and done, you know, it was like, why go through all that? Why put the player through that if you could just say he's injured?
Well, I think the thing with Tortorella is that he wants to keep it between him and the player, the conversations, and he doesn't owe us an explanation in reality if you really think about it, right? I think the player's not playing, and that's what happened, and he doesn't, you know, he's good about that, I think. Because maybe who knows what happened? Right, you said like who knows what happened? Maybe he's protecting Couturier in terms of like what I'm not speaking. I don't know the situation. Everything that you know, I know. You know what I mean? But you know, I think we don't know. But I think it's not fair to like blame him for any of it. Does he stoke the fire a little bit? Of course. Did I ask him about Sean Couturier in Carolina? He said I'm not talking about Sean Couturier, and it became like a whole thing. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, because you just benched the captain, but yeah, I can't ask you about that.
Yay.
But I think it was a bigger story because he was captain, or he had
just made. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that made me think they would cover for him a little bit, and they I don't know. It felt like Tortorella being Tortorella for the sake of being Tortorella, and because of the internet and the age we're in, it's just it's going to take a life on its own that's even more incredible than the actual situation.
It was a huge deal in Canada.
Of course.
Like they made it a massive deal. Like I was getting messages and like people were making it a very big deal in Canada. Look, in my opinion, if you're not playing great, you shouldn't be playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's me being a coach, right? Like my experience is like, you know, I'm if your best, like, you know, when he benches MattvMichkov, is this if we can see why?
I like that you said when.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
We don't know when. But
I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna make sure I listen to post game. I was like, I gotta hear Jackie's question.
Well, you know, like he's very respectful of guys. I mean, look how he talks about Nick Delorier.
Yeah.
You know, look how he talks about Garnet Hathaway. Look how he talks about. I do think he has a little bit of a like a Ryan Poehling, right? He loves guys that bet on themselves, and that was Ryan Poehling last year. And I think, you know, he loves guys that believe in themselves and push themselves. Nick Seeler, right? Nick Seeler totally believed in himself and pushed himself to be the guy who now has a, you know, extension. Sorry, I have the comments.
That'll be a day.
This is one of the more tamer things from Teddy there.
Yeah.
I think, I don't look. I might get run out of the building when I say what I'm about to say.
Uh-oh.
MattvMichkov is an absolute talent. Oh. But there was a few times I look up and he's hanging at the blue line and not his own.
Oh,
So I know that already is going to drive Tortorella crazy.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I'm not saying he can't score at that end, but the fact that he's cherry picking a little bit or hanging is going to drive Tortorella crazy.
Just combine that cherry picking with a failed Michigan that leads to a turnover. And I think she's right. I think there's going to be rumblings.
I don't care about I honestly don't think he cares that much about the Michigan. Everyone plays into it now because of what he said about Trevor Zeek, right? But like
they looked at him when he attempted it. They all gave him a look.
Oh yeah, well Travis Konechny was right in front of him. Of course he turned around. Like that's just Travis Konechny. But I think if he's not playing hard in his own end, and he was doing a little bit of reaching, but also they all agree he was a little tired. Like this is his first Tortorella camp, and very different. It's very different than any other camp in the NHL, probably with how he functions. Like, so, I don't know. There's a couple of times I looked up and I was like,
oh boy,
he's gonna not be happy about that.
Oh man.
So we'll see what.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he's young. Maybe they'll break him of that, somewhat quick. But
I do like him with Morgan Frost. I see the Frost.
Oh yeah, the FrostMichkov connection. We haven't. So I mean, Jack. We've had you on for about 45 minutes. If you don't mind hanging around talking more, that's perfectly fine with us. So we know you got your dinner, your day off. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that then. The Michkov Frost connection. Is that something that you want to see? Is that a real possibility opening night?
It was the combination I had when as soon as he got as soon as Matvey signed his entry level, and we did like a roster prediction or line predictions earlier in the summer. I had Frost with Michkov. I don't know about you guys, but I think Morgan looks way more confident with the puck and just a different player playing with someone like a MattvMichkov. I think I actually had Tyson Forster as their winger, not Owen Tippett, but that was just more because Tyson Forster can be a little bit more of a defensive-minded player. Mm-hmm. And when you have two creative guys like that, I think it's just a good balance. But that's that's a question I have for Torts, right? Like how do you decide your line combinations? Like how do you say, okay, this guy goes with this guy and this guy goes with that guy? Are you balancing the line guy, or are you a strict offense guy? Everyone has their own different ways about it. It's not the NHL like when I grew up, right? Where you had that second line was your checking line, and you had, and sorry guys, I did grow up in New York, so like you did have like your Jan Eriksson playing with Mike Gardner, and Mike Gardner was an offensive player, but you have a lot of guys that you had your checking line, right? Jan Eriksson, the Shadow, he was known for that. Like that was your second line, and that's what it was. And like Sergei Nemchinov was on the checking line with Gardner, and like that was the line. And you don't have that really anymore. Like you don't have like a full checking line anymore. So it's kind of nice that you can kind of spread out the offense a little bit. But like I said, I originally had on mine I had Forster, and I thought Tippett, Konechny, and Couturier played well last year together too. So, but we also know line combinations definitely are not set in stone with John Tortorella. So
no. Especially with this team, and it's almost like that's a good thing because they have so many guys that you can actually move up and down the lineup. Like a guy playing on their third line. I have Farabee penciled in on the third line. I know he's probably a top 6 guy, but just for the sake of this, little segment, he can easily be on your top line, Joel Farabee, and we're your second line. They have a lot of guys that can kind of flex up and down through the roster. So
he looked good in the preseason game.
Yeah,
I thought Joel looked really good. I thought. Obviously, I think both of his goals were on the power play, though, or one of his goals was on the power play. So obviously a little bit of a shift, but even Bobby Brink has the talent to be a top 6 guy. Like I personally think this whole like top 6, bottom 6, whatever, like is my personal take is if you could put 3 fantastic lines out there, do it. Who cares? Yeah. Who cares? And I think Joel is the kind of guy, I think he said at the end of last year that he was okay with playing wherever he played. He understood. It's not like he was playing on a bad line with Jetlachenko and Noah Cates.
Right.
Like those are 2 really good players, right? I mean, especially Lachenko, right? Like at this point, he has the speed and the skill. I do think his hands need to catch up a little bit to his feet personally from watching him in Dev Camp, but you wouldn't notice that in the rookie camp. So maybe he worked on something, but I think, yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have. I think, what was that one?
Oh,
Judging by Canadian fans.
they were asking if Russian reporters would be there for Michkov, and but it's the Canadians fans. They're a little unhinged about Michkov. So
yeah, I don't really understand why they hate Matvey. It's not like he had anything to do with who the Canadians.
They skipped him. They passed on him. They took Reinbacher, and that's who it was before. And they had a big blow up there. And ever since, it's been like a revenge tour.
I'm pretty sure outside of Chicago, what was it? When did Matvey go? 7?
Yeah, they were 5.
Sure 5 other teams passed on him too.
Yeah, well,
4 other teams passed on him too.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. But Montreal.
Look, I watched MattvMichkov in U18s, and I watched MattvMichkov. I believe he did play at least one World Junior before Russia was not allowed to participate. MattvMichkov should have been the number 2 overall pick that year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I read too. It blew my mind that there was conversation there, but I think that's why they're really upset. They really wanted him. Their team skipped on them. They're the big bad Canadians. They're the original 6 team. So all of a sudden it was Reinbacher was the better pick. He's the defenseman. And as soon as they got Demidov, the other Russian, they're like, oh, forget who's Mich who? Like, and they've just been on us ever since.
That Mr. I'm not going to say it right. Twister has it correct, I think. Not that all these other teams passed on him because they were concerned about him not being here.
Well, now it's flipped. Now it's Kent Hughes is better than Briere, which is like we're just sitting back taking it all in from these guys. Like they're unhinged. They're completely unhinged.
I will reserve comment on that one.
I wish I had this to play during the episode. Have you seen that, Jack?
Yeah, of course. It's all that night. Oh,
no,
that was one of the best things.
That's
that
kind
I've
of what
ever
I was
seen in my
thinking
life.
of when I said
chaos.
It was,
is that RDS or TSN?
There was a Twitter space when those things were real popular, and it was just all Montreal fans just flipping out in the Twitter space. It was just
screaming, like they weren't just upset. They were
beautiful.
Screaming, like you could barely understand what they were saying. It was bad.
Yeah, that was fun. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Well, I've only seen Michkov that one rookie game, the Friday night rookie game, and something I try to get a feel for is player personalities, because I think, if you can see their personality, as just a regular guy, it kind of translates sometimes to the ice, right? And Michkov, not being able to speak English, it's kind of hard to. It's not hard. I don't want to say hard, but it's different on trying to figure out, okay, what kind of guy is this, right?
Yeah.
And he's giving you some good answers, and you see him every day. What kind of guy? What kind of impression do you get from Michkov?
Well, just remember, we don't talk to every single player every single day, even MattvMichkov. Probably at this point, we probably, at least from my perspective, maybe if he does something in a preseason game moving forward, but limited. Like most of my interactions with him between now and Vancouver will be, like the things I ask every other player.
Right.
I don't want to give any stories away, but like things I ask every other player, like, I don't know, like what kind of stick do you use or whatever, like stuff like that, so not like super great interaction, like super in-depth, like
sure.
Just because there are, other guys on the team and other stories to tell as well. He's obviously going to be a focus for the year. But like, he's probably a little sarcastic with his response to me the other night.
Which one? I don't know if I heard that one.
So if you remember on the goal to the first Morgan Frost goal, he kind of had his back turned to him. He got the puck and skated to the board, or he tracked it down at the board, and then he made the behind the back, like with his back turned to Morgan. And then Morgan turned and flipped it up, right at the post. But simple question, you ask other people, we would ask anyone. I was like, oh, did you know Morgan was there? No, I closed my eyes and I had no idea. Kind of.
Oh, you were the one who asked that question. That's great.
You know what? It's like
I remember the response. I didn't even know what the question was. I remember reading that response.
Yeah,
I got to be truthful here.
Why not? You get a good answers.
That's great. It's memorable. That's for sure.
And someone. So we have learned though that we do, because of the Russian translation, like we do need to ask questions, right? It has to be in the form of a question. Like if I said to. Like the other day, I said to Nick Seeler, like when he had the presser the day after the Capitals game, I said, "Oh, his business is like, business like usual, like, you block the shot, business like usual, and he answered the question. Or you say to someone, like, that seemed like a big play there. I'm obviously not going to say something that generic, but if you say to that, they know to answer the question with detail.
Right.
So if you pop up what Ted E asked, that was me who asked the question where he said thank you. Yeah. So I just asked him, like, it seemed like a lot of emotion on your reaction when you scored the goal, and this was when we were in Allentown. And he said thank you, but you wanted him to say something like, oh, yes, it was, it was emotional. I've been looking forward to scoring a professional goal, something like that. So yeah, it was a little, you got to be a little bit more direct.
I assume that's something that kind of gets lost through the translation, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Right. And instead of, like, because he can't hear the tone and how you're saying it, I guess he can only hear the tone and how the guy's translating it.
I do think he understands to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, I think you and I have actually spoken about this, James. Like, when Ivan came over, Ivan speaks pretty well, and he understands as long as it's a simple question. You're not, like, somebody asked him using a very specific American term, like, trial by fire is a very specific American term, right? And idiom or whatever. And Ivan didn't know what that meant, trial by fire. Right, it's an expression that we use here a lot about things.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you said that, to Matty, I don't think he would know what that means, either, and he wouldn't be able to answer. But you can tell he kind of understands the questions when they're being asked, but I don't think he's comfortable yet answering completely in English, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He definitely speaks English because, or at least hockey terminology, because Jamie Drysdale, it was during a TV timeout, so you might not have seen it on the, if you watched the game on Sunday in DC, but him and Jamie Drysdale had a full-on conversation and were pointing and figuring out where they were going on a power play. So there's definitely conversations being had in English, because I don't think Jamie speaks Russian. So, there's definitely, a back and forth.
So let me ask you this, because the small impression that I got, because what I was trying to do is I was trying to see how he's interacting with teammates, and he's here in a new country, doesn't really speak the language, but they're all playing the same game, and maybe there's like a universal language in hockey so they can communicate that way. It almost looked like to me like he was almost I don't know what he was saying, but he looked extremely confident. I'll say that. Like, he didn't look shy. Like, I know how I would be in a new country with people who all spoke the same language and I didn't know it. Not that I would be shy, but I wouldn't be how I've seen MattvMichkov be, if that makes sense. Like, there's a presence to him, I think, right?
I think he's a confident kid.
Yeah.
I think he's serious. He wants to win. Pretty much every response is about, we're ready to play the game. We're focused. And I might be paraphrasing slightly. I don't think he said the word focus, but he just seems very much like it's about the game and about being the best we can be. And he's a confident kid.
Would you say there's like an intensity there? But I don't want to say like intensity where it's like he's over the top, but it's like he's so serious almost. There's like an intensity there. It's like, okay, this guy is like, he's here to win. He's here.
I think he's there is it. Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word, but there's something about him that's like, this guy's not here to play around.
No. My feeling from the short time we've been around him is that if you're not up to your game, James, you can leave.
Exactly.
Kind of mentality.
It's
like
that.
He's the kind of guy. He's making sure everyone is focused on one thing, and the one thing is winning.
It's that, and that's what blows me away, because he's in a new country. He doesn't, you know what I mean?
That's what got him in trouble as a quote unquote bad teammate in Russia.
Maybe because he pushed guys.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad teammate. I think that's somebody who wants to win, but it got taken that way.
Jack, that's exactly.
I kind of like it though.
The impression that I got. Yeah.
I don't hate it. I kind of.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love
it. Who's so driven and so focused that,
Yes.
you know, he's going to sleep. You know, he ain't beating curfew. He's going to sleep 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, because he's got a game the next day. Kind of.
I love it because I feel like we just came from a time where I think of Voracek laughing at Vigneault, that story, you know, to a guy who is just dead set on, I'm here to not cash my paycheck. I'm here to play. I'm here to win. Get on board.
I mean, he was talking about winning Stanley Cups in his presser when he first.
Yes, that takes balls at his age to do that. God, you know, because you put a lot of pressure on yourself doing that. A lot of people fall to pressure, and he doesn't seem fazed by it at all.
No, and I think that's actually, that's a good comparison. I think, you know,
Wonderful.
No, what was it? Only chickpea pasta and no ice cream.
No ice cream, right? Chickpea pasta. My God, I would
Well,
never last.
We know that he had his first burrito because Hunter McDonald told us they took him to it's a burrito place right near in Voorhees. Not with a P.
Oh, not Chipotle, like right?
Or something. I guess if it was Chipotle, it wasn't Chipotle. It was
it's Pancheros. Like Q. It's
Pancheros.
There you go. Never mind.
So that was his first burrito he had. He said so. You know.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, hockey's a universal language, and everyone wants to win. And he's just hyper focused on making sure that happens, and I kind of appreciate that.
I love it.
You know, he definitely hyper focuses on scoring. So I think he needs to focus on the defensive end. But that's where I think it's going to drive Torts crazy a little bit.
That's what he's here for, right? That's what Torts is here for, and that's what Michkov's here for.
John Tortorella is, you know, I don't know. I don't know how young everyone is like watching or you guys even, but like, you know, I mean, I think we all remember Alex Ovechkin when he came over, right?
Oh yeah.
Couldn't find him in the defensive zone. You know, and I think it was I think it was Barry Trotz, right? No. Who turned him into Bruce Boudreau.
Boudreau, yeah.
Turned him into a complete player. And did it stop him from scoring? Absolutely not. Like, he's still Alex Ovechkin and is still probably going to break Gretzky's record. So, you know, but there were times back in the day, like, you couldn't find him in the defensive zone when he first came over. The goals are nice, but
I'm curious to see.
What's the saying? You know,
defense
scoring
wins championships.
Defense wins championships. So
I'm curious to see how that push and pull goes. Like, is Torts going to have to give way a little bit and let Michkov do his thing? Or, you know, are they going to have to meet in the middle? Like, hey, you could score all you want, but play a little bit of defense. You know what I mean? Or, you know, Torts doesn't really give in like that. It's, you know, play a defense, or we are going to see a benching maybe.
So this is like my personal take, but I mean, I don't know what Torts is going to do, but my take is, like, if you can't get back and you can't back check and you can't, you know, if you're going to be hanging at the blue line, like, that's just not conducive to a team winning, you know, because goals don't happen that often in reality, right? Like, you know, he's already said how he keeps getting stopped on the penalty shots, and, like, you know, how the next one he's going to score on and then he didn't score. So, you know, he was probably fired up that he didn't score on that one. But, like, you know, I think what was the question again, James?
How's the push and pull going to go with Torts? Like, is Torts going to be the one that has to give in a little bit, or, you know, is Michkov going to be the one that has to give in?
It's Torts' team. He runs the team. As a head coach, I can tell you, like, it's, you know, you don't want to say it's my way or the highway, but kind of is if you're the head coach. That's how I ran my bench, not to a degree. You know, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, like, at least when I was a coach, like, yeah, it's your way or the highway, but you want to put your players in their best positions to be successful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're dogging it and you ain't getting back, I'm not going to be happy as a coach. This is me speaking, not John Tortorella, obviously. So it's a fine line. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, to be honest, with Ted.
We just talked about his intensity, how serious, how bad he wants to win. I can't see him dogging it too much.
No. not to a degree, but he's not known for his speed to begin with.
That's true.
He's known for the quickness and the in-tight ability, right? And he does live driving down the middle, but like he's not known for being this speedster, which is why maybe having and Tippett on the line is good, right? Because he could be the one that plays high and gets back. Because definitely him and Morgan like to play low in the offensive zone. I think that was pretty evident. The goal was literally score low in the offensive zone. I think, Jonathan has a point too, but at the same, if you want to pop up his quote, but I will say, like, I've seen him at least in the scrimmages. I think his stamina, his endurance. This is a hard training camp with John Torella. There's no denying that. So,
I already struggled during the, not that every player doesn't struggle, but during the, what do they call it? His 3 and 8s or something.
The rope skate.
Yeah, the rope skate. Yeah, like Luchenko looked like he'd been doing it for weeks. Michkov struggled a little bit, but the point was he was just like, don't finish slow. Just finish strong. I don't care how long it takes you. But it did seem like he was a little gassed.
So I can confirm from a team source that McIniemi did sign a contract. The 1 year.
Hey, good for him.
There you go. The Kolosov spot.
Yep. So
Kola who?
I'm not allowed to say what I want to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out because, like, he has a binding agreement, like legal document. So, it'll be interesting to see how that all.
We'll have to get you on again to talk about that because now I'm starting to feel bad. I asked you for 20 minutes and we're an hour and 10 in. But we could talk to you all night, Jackie. So usually we wrap up around an hour anyways. So on for the whole show.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, how about that?
I'm sure you could tell I'm a bit of a talker anyway. So
she's going to pull herself away. I think it as a
talk show. So.
And I do actually. Ted asked if I see Luchenko making the team, even if he doesn't light it up, and I see him getting the eight or whatever the 8 or 9 games of junior.
Oh, 9, yeah, 9 is 9 games.
I do see that. I do see him getting the audition, to be honest with you, based on what I'm seeing. And I will say I was someone who was a little questioned. I don't know about that, but I will say I
don't know where that came from.
I told you it's not the craziest thing Teddy has said.
For Teddy. Jeez.
But I will say that I was one of the people that was a little, not sure about the pick, to be honest. I thought with Consta Helenius and obviously Zeev Buem available on the board, those are 2 really good picks. And they had a little bit more talent at the time. But obviously, we can all agree that Jet has some pretty good upside to his game, and he literally turned 18 a couple weeks ago. So since the draft,
that's crazy to me.
So him and Spencer Gill both turned 18 after being drafted. So the upside on both of those players is obviously really high, and I think I've actually been impressed by Jet Luchenko, and I actually, I do think he has a couple things to work on, obviously, but I feel like he's building more and more confidence the longer he's here. And I do see, you wouldn't point like there was moments, and I really like Spencer Gill. I did a big story on him. I actually ran into him and his family at the draft. So I did a big story. I talked to his parents who actually were in Lehigh Valley for his game against the Rangers rookies.
How cool is that?
Say again?
That's cool.
Yeah, no. So I just randomly ran into them again, which is funny. But there were moments when he played in that preseason game that he did. He looked like an 18-year-old, right? He looked like a kid. Luchenko did not. I don't think. I think he fit in really well. So, and Gill they did actually trade up to get.
I think that was with the pick they traded back for Luchenko for. Those are my 2 favorite picks of the draft, hands down. And it's funny saying that because what we said about Luchenko, and it was more about the position, not the player. Just who was available, like you were saying, but he is impressed at every chance he gets to be out there. He stands out. Like, it is incredible that he's freshly 18 years old.
Yeah.
Makes me feel worlds better about that pick. I still personally don't think he makes the team. I kind of agree with you, Jackie. I'm not 100% sure he gets a 9-game thing, but not through no fault of his own. I think that's a personal thing on the front office, to be honest. But either way, I think it's fine.
Well, part of it is also like, where does he go? Like, whose spot does he take at this point, right? Down the middle.
And that's one of the things that Jim and I talked about in the offseason. And it was like, where's the movement? We're expecting all these trades. And Jim's kind of like, why? He doesn't really need to do it. And at the end of the day, he's right. But then I see all these, like, who's a dark horse? I'm like, well, who can be a dark horse? There's nowhere for anybody to get in. There's no room. There's no trades. Yeah. So I hope they really, gives them a lot to think about. That'd be nice. Get the ball rolling.
No, I agree. I mean, look, the future is pretty bright with some of the guys they got. And I actually think Jack Berglund's a pretty good pick there too, that they got. I believe he was 3rd round. Look, he's going to Harvard. I mean, this kid is smart. He was planning for the future actually with going to Harvard for himself, even though, he's from, I think he's the one from Sweden, if I remember correctly.
One of the lands. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Sweden, Finland.
Oh, yeah, because Heikki Ruohonen is from Finland.
I'll tell you real quick, because I really don't remember either. I get them confused all the time. I
confuse the 3 countries. Yeah,
No, but I think, I think Jack Berglund's, look, a lot of these guys are going to play World Juniors. Like, don't be surprised. A lot of them played Summer Series already, Summer Showcase. I think Carson Bjarnason is definitely going to be playing for Canada this year. Denver Barkey, as long as he's back healthy, will be playing for Canada this year. I think, obviously Oliver Bonk is, good chance he'll be playing. I mean, Oliver Bonk's another one who could get the
9-game stint.
9-game stint, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it makes me feel a little old because I watched Radek definitely play, but
so did I.
Right there waiting.
Yeah. I had him on a fantasy team once. Oh my god.
Yeah, that makes me feel very old now, that guys I watched as a kid or even like as a teenager and in my 20s, or their kids are now playing. It's like Ryder Rolston is up there, and like it's just like, Jesus Christ, didn't Brian just retire? Like, this is ridiculous. But
the gap seems to get smaller and smaller. I think a Ginless kid really did it for me. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I remember I tried to get Jerome for a story like only a couple of years ago, and like when he was still playing for like Boston, and I was like, man, like now his kid's playing.
I remember thinking, like, wasn't it Ginla traded to the Penguins in like 2015 or something? Like, how's this kid already here?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, but I think that's like James Blake's kid or Jason Blake's kid is playing, and
well, about the Kachucks. Like, it's just
the Chucks
never ending. That's why everybody thought that Spencer Gill was Hal Gill's kid.
Oh, geez. They kind of. I think they're both redheads. Right? To a degree.
I don't. They would fit the Flyers forte, that's for sure.
Sawyer Bolin is Eric Bolin's kid. Yeah, that's a wild
game. That's a good one.
By the way, I will say Sawyer Bolin is gonna, if he makes the NHL, will be an absolute fan favorite. He's
a wrecking ball,
and they
hands down. He's also a massively big personality. He walks in and asks, "How are you guys doing? How's things today?"
That's fun.
Good.
And he also knows, speaking of guys who knows their role, he knows his role.
You need guys like that.
Not the biggest. I love enforcers. I think they're great. I always get a little. I've had my own issues with concussions and stuff, so I obviously have a very, it's hard to watch sometimes when like Nick Delorier drops the gloves with like the Matt Rempe fight. Like, it was a little hard to watch, but because I know what can happen when you have a really bad concussion. But like Sawyer Bolin knows his role. He's obviously learning from one of the best with his dad. Eric Bolin was one of the most feared guys when he played. Him and Eric Cairns used to go at it all the time. Like, I've talked to Ice Guardians, obviously. Shout out to Adam Scorgi, and that movie is fantastic, obviously, about the enforcers. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I'm sure it's available everywhere now because it came out many years ago. But talk to Eric about that. He's one of the main focuses of that movie. I think, but I'm telling you, he's going to be, he's a throwback. And again, I apologize for my constant like references to like Rangers and stuff, but that's obviously what I grew up watching. So like he's a throwback to like the Ty Domies and the big personality fighter guys who get you amped up. And if he gets into a fight, he's gonna be the one, like waving the hands up in the air and getting the crowd into PJ Stocks and things like that. So
Dan Carcillo's
makes me want to go watch a Dave Probert documentary.
Eric Bolton too. Did he play for? He played for the Islanders, not the Rangers. Eric Bolton.
He didn't play for the Rangers. He played for the Islanders. He played for the Thrashers. But he obviously Islanders, Rangers, especially back when the rivalry was. At least like when I was a kid, that rivalry was massive, right? Like like you had Dan Cloutier beating up Tommy Salo. You had
wow.
Those are goalies, by the way. For anyone,
I knew Salo. I definitely know Salo.
Like that's one of the most. Dan Cloutier doesn't have his shoulder, his chest protector on, and any of that, and he's beating. Like that's what I kind of grew up on a little bit of, and it's. So yeah, Eric Bolton was part of it. It was more towards like the later stages of that big fighting rivalry, I would say, because Eric Cairns, I believe, was still in the Rangers at the time, and they were two guys that go at it. But yeah, he was a Islander guy back early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, I would say.
I just saw it. It was like between 2013 and 2017 or something like that. Does that sound right?
I think you're talking about. Wait a minute.
Let me see. Eric, I'm sorry. I'm still talking about Eric Bolton. Whoops.
2017?
Let me see. Let me just double check.
Because I talked to him about Ice Guardians well before.
Maybe that's when he finished up a playing career as a whole. For the Islanders, it was 2012 to 2016. So he played in 6 games and 10 games his last 2 years. So maybe he didn't really play a lot for the Islanders.
Maybe he was an Islander.
He's mostly with the Sabres and Thrashers, like you said.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was still playing when I talked to him, and I can see his face. He's in Edmonton now, and he does like TV and it drive me crazy. I can see his face. Gadzik, Luke Gadzik, I think it is.
I would have never got that.
He does TV now in Edmonton. But I talked to the two of them, and then there was a third person I remember. But that was for the Ice Guardian. I went to the premiere when they showed it in New York. But yeah, no, he's. So I'm telling you, Sawyer Bolton's going to be a big fan favorite, and he could be the guy that pushes Nick Delorier. I don't know if he's NHL.
Think of that.
He's probably not NHL ready. Everyone makes fun of me in the press group, but I'm a big fan. I kind of like it. I think he's a great quote. He's a talker. He's a big, like I said, big personality. Does he need to develop a lot? Yeah. He only played like 1 year of junior, to be honest with you. So with London, but he knows his role. He knows what he's supposed to do out there. So you gotta love guys. I think Torres loves guys like that, right? He knows his role. He'll probably be one of the first cuts, to be honest, because I don't think he'll get it. He did get a game already. He got his preseason game. But yeah, we're like I said, we're still just waiting for the cuts to come out.
Yeah, that'll probably be tomorrow. You would assume.
This is Delorier's last year this season, right? On his 4-year deal. Is this his last of his more? I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's one more.
I thought he signed when we still had Was it Vigneault? No, it would have been Torella. Yeah.
He signed his deal here. Yeah.
It was 4 years. I just can't remember when the first year was.
I actually have.
It was interesting. He said he could push Delorier out.
Yes,
I never thought about that. So it's this year or next. Okay.
Year.
So he's got some time still. Not that he can't be traded, but that's interesting. I never really see. I don't think about that with the team. So
we have to remember you're only going to have one enforcer guy in the team. Right?
Yeah.
And Nick Delorier is, also a great guy. Should be a fan. He is a fan favorite. But he's also 33, 34, turning 34. Like, windows are a little shorter sometimes for enforcers. So, but who knows? We don't know. He obviously sat quite a bit last year. It'd be interesting to see how much he plays this year. Obviously, Danny Briere said that, he made a point to say that Nick Delorier was going to be like kind of MattvMichkov's bodyguard. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, how Tortorella wants to. Will Nick Delorier play against the New York Rangers if Matt Rempe is in the lineup? Yes.
There you go.
I'm extremely biased when it comes to Delorier because he came on our show, so he's forever one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yep.
But not everyone has a Matt Rempe on their team.
Right.
That
should be interesting.
I mean, would he play against Toronto? Probably, because they have Ryan Reeves. But not Ryan Reeves isn't an everyday player anymore either.
No. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we better let you go this way. I mean,
we literally talked to you. Your voice gave up.
Yeah. If I'm the person you always hear coughing, by the way. I was the person you heard coughing all the time last season. I'm the person you'll probably hear coughing all the time this year.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You hear that the first time this year. Just start laughing.
Yeah, I didn't hear that once.
I think I remember reading one or two like YouTube comments like, who's coughing all the time?
Jeez, people are something else.
Now we know.
That was one of the nicer comments. Let's just say people,
I'm sure. Jeez.
We don't have any of that in this chat. I mean, Teddy will say something off the wall.
Teddy's good for one or two.
I don't know how I feel about Ronda Rousey. But
I don't either. I don't know how to. I just said, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But no. It'll be interesting to see how they do this year, for sure. So.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Jack, would love to have you back on again. We know things are going to get pretty busy coming up here, but it was awesome. I want to thank you for, taking just about an hour and a half of your time. It's your day off.
Yes, for 20 minutes, right?
Well, I ended up finalizing a story this morning. It'll come out tomorrow. It's actually a really feel-good story about one of the guys who won't make the team. So it's not a name probably a lot of people know. But yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but he's gone through a lot, and it's a very feel-good story to see him at camp.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Where can everybody find you on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it? And obviously, where can they find? You got it right in your.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Do you want to spell it out for the people who are gonna listen as a podcast?
Oh, you didn't tell me there's audio.
Oh yeah, we do it all here. Video,
everything.
Audio, you name it.
Yes.
Sure. So it's at Jackie, Jackie, and then Spiegel, SP as in Peter, IEGEL, and then 93 because that's the number I wear. So
it's a great number.
Yeah, it's a great number. Doug Gilmour. That's why I wear it. So
there you go.
I was trying to think of a flyer who wore 93. Jack, can
Jacob Voracek.
I was going to say I'd rather not.
Was it Voracek?
I think he was. Yeah. How quickly I forgot.
It was.
Yeah.
I have it. I own it, and I don't see it very often.
And I believe Derek Desjardins wore 39, right? So
37.
37. Oh, it's close. No, 93. 93 is getting to be a popular number. I've noticed around the league.
Oh yeah, I love those 90s numbers. Like can't go wrong with a number in the 90s.
Peter Nedved wore 93.
That's who I was thinking of.
Peter Nedved. There you go. There's a Ranger for you.
But did he wear it for he was a Flyer, wasn't he? Did he wear it
for like one season, if even a full one? Oh geez,
wow.
That was like 2005 or something.
He probably would have worn 93.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I figure he had it so long. Oh, Peter, that's a good one.
Holy
obviously, like Sabinajad wears 93 now. There's somebody on the Blue Jackets, I believe, wears 93.
You still follow the Rangers, Jackie?
I'm too busy.
Is that like that's the team that you grew up watching, right?
Yes.
So obviously, it's like you root for them.
Well, my dad will text me. He'll keep me informed.
Yeah, cool.
I know you're a traitor, but here's what's going on.
No. I root for anybody at this point in my career. I root for players who I think are good people, and that's about
nailed it.
Yeah.
So he did wear 93.
My dad's a big Ranger fan. Obviously, he used to have season tickets at the old, at the Garden and everything. So, and the old Blues. So,
I'm sorry, dude. Mr. Twitzer with this stupid comment really making me laugh.
Also, he spelled my name wrong.
It's right there on the screen, dude. Oh man! All right, let's wrap this up,
I
Jackie. We'll
before
let you
E,
go.
except after C. Come
There you
on.
go. Well, at least there's not an A on the end. People spell it with the speak out.
Spag-al? Speak out?
What I like to say, so I'm a
How
little
about
old.
Berg? Is there ever a Berg on the end?
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny. Like, my family obviously came. Yeah, living in New York, my family came through Ellis Island, and on Ellis Island there is lists of everyone, and like you'll see, you'll go. My I don't know if my dad's side, but you'll go over to the Spiegels and they'll be like Spiegel, Spiegelbaum, Spiegel this, Spiegel that, like, and you're like, I don't know, they could have been related. We don't know because when you come through Ellis Island, they change names a lot, right?
Yeah, they cut a lot out. Yep.
Yeah, my mother's mother's father was Ilya Lewin, and he became Louis Levine. So you never know. But yeah, no, I always like to say, because I'm old, that if you remember Spiegel catalog, which we did not own and we had nothing to do with them, no money on this side, but Spiegel catalog was a big catalog growing up, and it was like your LL Bean a little bit.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Jack. You make me feel.
Oh, sorry.
Or like Der Spiegel in Germany. So
that's a German last name, right? Spiegel.
That was my guess.
We like to say Austrian, but yeah.
Austrian.
We think Austrians, yeah, but yeah, Spiegel is a German dialect, so it means mirror.
Means what?
Mirror.
Yeah,
that's why it's Der Spiegel in Germany, because it's the Mirror is their newspaper.
Oh,
yeah, Jackie Mears. I like it. Jackie Mears.
You learn something new every day. How about that?
Yeah,
learned a little German.
I had an Oma from Stuttgart. I don't know if that resonates, but I'm a part German.
Most of my family's Polish.
Okay.
And like the border of Poland and Russia back in the day, kind of thing. So I actually am learning Russian. I'm using Duolingo, trying to learn a little Russian.
Get out.
Yeah. Trying.
Are you going to ask a question? Are you going to ask a question in Russian?
No,
he talks too fast for me.
She just wants to say thank you back.
He probably is like, what is she doing? Because I'll like stare. Like, how you like stare at someone's mouth when you're trying to like understand them? He's probably like, what is this woman doing? Because I'm trying to like pick up like a word or two that I know.
Yeah.
The other day I heard and I was like, oh, I heard trainer, which means coach.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So he's not the only one learning a new language here. I mean, you are too, apparently.
He talks like Duolingo right now. I'm learning like dome, which is like house, and sabaka, which is like dog. It doesn't help me.
They need like a hockey channel. Like I would like to learn hockey Russian. Please.
Hockey terms in Russian. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, so I did get a chance to speak with him after he did his presser, his original presser when he first came over. And I did say Dobro Pashalovit, which means welcome. So he laughed because he was like, oh, someone knows.
There you go.
That would mean something to me if somebody did that. Like, oh, this person
did the work. Yeah.
Tried,
trying. That's about it. That's all I do at that point. Like it was, I had been practicing it for a couple of days trying to get it right because didn't want to sound too bad. But
right now she's got all the curse words right now. To make sure she's calling it.
That's what somebody said. Like he probably learned a bunch of new ones, especially with Torch starting off his practices and everything.
Yeah,
I think Eric Johnson said that when we were talking to him on like the day one or whatever. But usually, like I had a lot of friends growing up. I grew up in Brooklyn, obviously a lot of multicultural, very big multicultural environment, and a lot of people who were new to the country. And yeah, curse words are the first words every kid learns when they come. Absolutely. And we learn a couple too the other way, so it works out.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. No, look, I give him a lot of credit, right? Moved to a new country. He's only 19 years old. He does have his mom and his brother here, so that definitely helps feeling a little bit at home. Even, Igor said, like, he's Matvey's mom and Ivan's wife are both cooking a lot of Russian food, so that it makes him feel really, like home
that's cool.
a little bit. And Yegor talked about it the other day too, about how like hard it was for him to move to Calgary and play in Regina and to play, in the WHL without speaking English and in the middle of Calgary and which I love. I'm actually a huge fan of the city of Calgary personally, but I think He talks about how hard it was and a little bit isolating, being someone who didn't speak the language, but people helped and he learned it. And, I think it helps a little bit ease a little bit of the process for him. I think Jaeger said it, that like he's, he talked to his TV in his chair sometimes. I think even last year he was talking about it, doing that because, he didn't have someone who was Russian until Denis Gurianov came at the trade deadline. And then Ivan obviously came a couple weeks later. So that kind of helped, people helped him. And you can see the difference when there's guys who speak your native language in the room. Like Sam Urson, as soon as Olay Olay got called up, you could tell how excited he was that he had someone who was Swedish and he could talk Swedish too. Because Sam, the Flyers roster is primarily Americans and Canadians.
Yeah.
You have your Shawn Couturier and Nick Lauriers who speak French, and you have, then you had Sam who spoke Swedish, obviously very good English, but Swedish. Risto speaks Finnish, obviously. So, having people who speak the same language at you is that you're the most comfortable in. Like I was just in Europe, obviously, you're in Norway. I was in Norway and Denmark, and Sweden. Those are big, they speak a lot of English there, so it's helpful, but sometimes you don't understand and it's hard. It is hard. I totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I gotta stop talking.
Nah, I'm Jack. Like I said, we could listen to you all night. But like I said, I know you probably want to eat dinner at some point.
Yeah, at this point, maybe a little power bar and I'll go to sleep.
Yeah, there you go. You're better than me because I got pasta in the fridge still. I'm going to eat second dinner after this. So
I actually I went to the farmer's market and bought a bunch of veggies, so I got to get those prepped in the fridge. But there you go. But yeah, and practice bright and actually I think 11 tomorrow, so that's nice. A little later.
I get to sleep in a little bit.
A little bit,
just a little. All right, well, we'll let you run, Jack. I mean, obviously, everybody can find your work on Twitter, the Philadelphia Inquirer, right? Is there anywhere else, anything else you want to get out there before we let you run?
I have an Instagram where I post a lot of videos, stuff I shoot at the practices. I did a thing where I was in Norway this year. Try some lefse that Nick Seeler and Ryan Paling told me about around Christmas time that they eat, that their grandmas make and their family makes. So yeah, it's the Instagram though, no 93, just Jackie Spiegel. So there'll be a lot of videos that'll be on there and a lot of pictures that are on there. They're on there now that are not on Twitter. So it's a good spot to check it out too. And obviously follow the Philadelphia Inquirer and everything. Philly sports, and pick up the paper if you can, and obviously hopefully subscribe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you do a great job, Jackie, and thank you for hanging out with us and taking the time on your day off to
thanks for having me on
talk Flyers. So yeah, we'll let you run. I'm sure I'll see you Thursday night, first
preseason game at home, probably Michkov playing. So
let's go. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
See you, Jackie. Good night. All right, man, we could talk to Jackie all night, Jack. That could have easily been 2-hour show, 2.5-hour show. Just great insight. Really lucky to have her in Philly, So I'm glad we got to have her on and talk some Flyers hockey. She's you saw her tonight. A great person to talk hockey with, listen to, very insightful. She's been around the game for her whole life. So I was really happy to get her on. I think I reached out to her yesterday, and she's super busy, by the way, so that we were able to get her on for as long as we did. We're pretty lucky. She called me today. I was like, hey, I can come on. I've been running around. Totally understand. And
20 minutes. I was told 20 minutes.
That's what it was supposed to be, man. And she's really cool. So hopefully we can get her on again. So yeah, she was awesome. But hey, we covered all of our topics. So we really don't have anything left here, right? I mean,
no, she hung for the whole show. I mean, I can't think of anything. Bjornsson was sent back or sent to juniors, which is understandable. She broke on the show that I can't even remember his name.
I got it.
Mäkiniemi, is that it?
Mäkiniemi, you got it.
Oh wow, okay. Apparently, I can't remember his name. He is official. What else has happened? We know that Attard's just a dead man walking. Like, what's left?
Yeah. There's nothing. We covered it all. So, yeah, why don't we wrap this up? I'll do the outro here one last time, guys. Give us a subscribe and a follow. Listen to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and watch us on YouTube. Set alerts for weekly shows and favorite hwhockey.net. Check out all of our latest episodes and articles. We fired up the pregame or the postgame shows last night, so make sure you give our postgame shows a watch. Let me know what you think. You can expect one, I think, Thursday night. I think I'll be at the game. If not, I'll there's going to be a post-game show regardless. So be on the lookout for a post-game show. Hopefully you guys are able to hang out. So yeah, that's it. Flyers play New York Islanders Thursday night at home. Could be Michkov's first official Flyers home game. So make sure you guys are tuned in. If you're around, go to the game. Show some support. So for Jack, I'm Jim. We'll see you all Thursday night, post game.
This slaps hella.
Man, we probably only said it 5 or 6 times. All right, slaps hella. See you.